Hi everybody, welcome back, and this is all about Unit 1, but I wanted to start this video just by saying hello again and saying that I'm recording this on Sunday morning, and I wanted to say how wonderful the introductions and the stuff on the Padlet have been. Really fun. If you haven't looked at the Padlet or put your thing up yet, here are some of the things that people are putting. Really great fun pictures, you know. I don't like this. I hate writing. This is good. So add it to the Padlet. It's on the introductory unit page, and join with the conversation. The introductory posts here are interesting. The ones that have been put up here. Now you can comment on any of them that you want to. All you do is you click on this comment bar, and you can. I've already put my comment on there, but you can put a comment in here and post the comment. Okay, so you can respond to people. There's some you're an interesting bunch of people. I like my summer folks. The other thing that people are using well and to great, I don't know, conversations are beginning to start, is a perusal. So if you haven't looked at the things on perusal, the introductory, these things, you should definitely go over and look at them, because again, there's some really good, oops, I'm already at the bottom, really good comments, as you can see from, this is just from the Hassan video. Lots of people have been commenting to each other, and, several things happening on this, so you can't see this, but, 2 or 3 comments on things. So go jump in, go join. You can't see it, but this one's got quite a lot of comments. A lot of people talking, telling their stories about this and about language. And some of you who were in 1101 may have seen these, or maybe not, but I think they're good to see again, because it actually does feed into Unit 1, which is all about language and the groups that we are a part of. So jump into perusal. The other thing I wanted to say before I launch into Unit 1 is that don't forget, I'm going to put these videos on, go back here, in the library. There's none in here. Nothing's in here yet because I haven't done one. This is the first one. And they will all be in here, so you can look at this video and ask me questions on the video just like you did on the Hassan thing, and I'll jump in and answer them that way. Okay. So so that is that. So let's go back. Yeah, and don't forget, use perusal. It's what it's there for. One of the things I like about perusal, especially for an asynchronous class, is that it does give you a chance to kind of talk, quote unquote, talk to each other in a way that we don't get to do in an asynchronous setting. So, it's a nice way to kind of get to know each other. Using that and then DMing each other on Slack. My summer classes, and I've done this class. This will be the 3rd summer, I guess. I've done this, and the students in my summer class kind of get to know each other even better than the regular classes. And I think maybe it's because everybody's sort of trying to, connect with each other, because you don't get to see each other. So use perusal to comment about the readings and responding to the readings, and on the Padlet, and DM each other if you want to. So the only other thing I wanted to say before I launch into Unit 1 is that if this video goes more than 15 minutes, I'm just going to stop and make 2, because there's nothing worse than having to sit through an hour-long video lecture. And, it's like, just somebody get me out of here. So I will arbitrarily just break it if I happen to start going longer than 15 minutes. So all that said, we are moving from the introductory stuff, which was a lot of it was about language, into Unit 1, which is over here, which is Portrait of a Word. Now, this may look a little complicated about discourse community, but it really is a very simple concept, and a really useful one, as it turns out. So think of it this way. We all belong to lots of groups, right? They're the groups that we are born into, like our culture, the country we come from, a religious group, right? We have no say in those, but that's part of who we are. So that's one set of groups that we belong to. Then the groups that we join because we're interested in that thing, like this is sneakerheads, right? If you don't know what a sneakerhead is, I'll take you over here to this. Okay, reasons, pros and cons of sneaker culture. It's funny pictures. Whoops, sorry about that. Interesting things about you know, sneakers and sneaker culture, and what does it mean to be in sneakerhead, being a woman in sneakerhead. These are people that collect and sell sneakers, I guess. I had a girl who was a sneakerhead in my spring class, and she launched into this long conversation in class one day about how hard it was to be a girl, be a young woman in the sneakerhead culture, because it's mostly these guys. Okay, so it's interesting, but that's a kind of a group. Okay, so we've got the groups that we're born into, at the culture. They're the groups that we join because we're interested in it, like sneakerheads or gamers or bakers. Had somebody do a really interesting thing last term about baking, the baking community. Could be, crochet. It could be, anything that we just were interested in, and we join with people who are like-minded, as they say, to talk about it or to get better at it, right? So those are the things that we join that are social and community groups. And then there's the professional groups that we join, become parts of, like being a doctor or an engineer or a computer programmer. Right? Those are and we become part of, my theory is we become part of a community, of a professional community, because we not only like the work, but we like the people that are in that group too. We get along with them. I've quit more than one career because I got sick of the people, because I didn't like them. I liked the work, but I couldn't get along with them. I just didn't share a lot of values. And that goes to what a discourse community is. So what is discourse community? Well, discourse is about language. It's from the same kind of root word as discussion. So it's all about language and what we use to communicate with each other. So, if you're in a profession and even a social group and even a community group has got language that they use, the jargon, the specialized words. And you all know about that if you're in any kind of, going into any kind of professional thing. Or if you're a sneakerhead and you don't know what some of those words mean. Or if you're a gamer, heaven help us, the gamers have got such specific language that it's hard for anybody else to break in. And that's part of it. That's part of what discourse communities are. They're ways of joining people together and sort of helping each other learn more about this thing. They're also a way of keeping people out, right? So if you've ever been a newbie in like an MMOR, and you've been sort of harassed and bullied, you know what I'm talking about, right? So the language of a discourse community is one way to kind of keep people out. So you can think of a discourse community as sort of our identity kit, right? So we have all these little kits that make us up. And that is what a discourse community is all about. So let me show you that. I put all this whole thing and some other stuff I put on Perusall. Assignments. This one. So if I open it, that's where we are now. This is a slideshow that Carrie Hall, our director of first year writing, did, and then I sort of added this little bit at the beginning, but it tells you more about them. Discourse communities sort of, they're groups of people who, this is the classic definition, share the same goals, the same methods of communicating, the same genres, and the same lexis or specialized language. Groups tend to, like they have a Discord channel, right? A certain group will have a Discord channel, and that's their genre. If a genre is a way of communicating, it's a specialized way of communicating that has conventions, has its own kind of set of rules. Like a memo has its own set of rules. A text message has its own set of rules. Somebody doesn't text very much if they start spelling out whole words instead of using, the acronyms and abbreviations and stuff, right? So there's specialized genres that these groups use. And then, of course, there's the language, and I already spoke about that. So, and she makes an interesting point here that there is no audience of everyone. There's just no such thing. People are in small groups, and we see that even more and more these days. Not every group is a discourse community. The thing about discourse communities also, as I was talking about before, is I just didn't like those people. Discourse communities have a way of sort of sharing values, the people within them. They see the world a certain way. they kind of understand and have the same kind of, I want to say, prejudices and also values that as other people in that community do. And we kind of can float sometimes between, get rid of one discourse community and go to another one. So they're not hard and fast rules. The ones that are hardest to get out of are the ones we're born into. That takes a lot of will, but a lot of effort. But it's doable because, again, it's all about sharing values and goals and and what we believe in. So, and this is just a little bit more about that: saying, doing, being, valuing, and believing. These are the things that are sort of common to a discourse community. Now, here's some that she put up here. Yes, the doggy pack. These are some discourse communities, all right? I'm not going to read them to you because you can read them yourself. But you can think of a gazillion. I mean, you've got ones of your own. I had a student before the pandemic. She was part of a Chinese, a cultural group that was dedicated to preserving the dress and the customs of sort of like medieval China. And one of the things you guys are going to be doing in this unit is putting something up on Padlet and adding a picture that goes with that community, your discourse community. So that Padlet post is going to be you talking about a discourse community that maybe you want to write this little paper about, and then adding a picture of it. What she did, since we weren't using Padlet then because we were still in person, she brought in a couple of those dresses. We all just had a heart attack. It was gorgeous, right? So there's also things that are part of these discourse communities. So these are some examples of them. Okay, and this is the rest of it. Now, what's important about discourse communities is when you're a writer, getting to know if you're going to be writing to a certain audience, and I hope some of you know about rhetorical analysis, which consists of understanding who the author is, who the audience is, the genre of the text, and the purpose of the text, and the context of the thing that's being created. So discourse community is part of understanding what an audience is, right? If you are writing to a specific audience, if you're writing to dog lovers and you're trying to convince them to adopt a cat, you're probably going to use very different language than if you were writing to a group of cat lovers, right? It's not the same language. You have the same sort of different attitude, right? So you kind of understand that discourse community. You're able to write better to them. And the other thing that I think is really, really, really useful, and it's not on here, but I think it's important just for our lives, is anybody who's ever started a new job, that job, that J-O-B, the whole thing, that office, that workplace is a discourse community. And you know how hard it is the first couple of weeks and maybe months to start to understand the values of that workplace, how people in that workplace talk to each other, the language. If you've ever worked the line in a restaurant, you know what the language is like. It's very specific. All right, you got to understand all that. What is three burgers mid-rare all day? That doesn't mean anything unless you understand what it means to make a hamburger that medium rare, and that's everything that's been ordered right now. Right? So understanding that in any place you walk into is going to be a discourse community will help you say, okay, now how are people talking to each other? What's the language that I do or don't understand? How are they communicating with each other? Is there a Discord group that I need to join, a WhatsApp, right? So discourse community is really important for the workplace. So understanding these ideas about it are really helpful to you on the job. Okay, so this is, what are you a part of? We'll go back over here. So that's sort of an introduction to discourse community. So what we're asking you, there's more about discourse. The second part of this assignment is this article that I want you to read and annotate, like you did with the syllabus and whatever. It's directed to students. It's not an academic piece, but he talks more about how he became part of a discourse community of guitar players, and it's really kind of fun. So that's the second part of this assignment, is to read Dan Meltzer's piece about discourse communities. He'll give you a little bit more of an understanding, especially about the kinds of social discourse communities that you can write about yourself. So for this assignment, okay, I'm getting to 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to get into the assignment itself because it's going to take a little bit. So hang in there, go get something to drink, and come back for the second video. Be right back.